Welcome to Brain Warriors Way podcast. I'm Dr. Daniel Amen. And instead of my partner, Tana Amen, this week, I have Dr. Parris Kidd, who is our Chief Science Officer at BrainMD. He's got a PhD from UC Berkeley in cell biology. He's been in the supplement industry for more than 35 years. He's really considered one of the chief scientists in the world when it comes to using natural supplements for your brain and your body. So, Parris, it is just such a joy to have you on the Brain Warriors Way podcast.
And it's such a pleasure to be working with you, Daniel, all these years now.
I know, it's crazy. I stalked you for a number of years trying to get you to work with us and formulate brain healthy products, but you were at Doctor's Best and doing wonderful things there. So you know how fond I am of you. And, you know, we're always searching for new ways to optimize and balance the brain. And so over this week, we're going to talk about 4 of our new products. Actually, they're behind me. And we have a couple of other new products that we've talked about. Happy Saffron, which I take every day. You know, during a pandemic, you need something to boost your mood and happiness. Saffron, what we have in that product is just so special. We also have Put Me to Sleep, which has just gotten great reviews to help people get healthy, natural sleep at night. But this week, we're going to talk about Neurogreens, Smart Mushrooms, which is actually going to be released in a couple of weeks. Neuro-C, never more important time to optimize your vitamin C level. And omega-3 Power Squeeze, which just tastes like dessert, but is loaded with omega-3 fatty acids, the kind that are really good for your brain. So let's talk about Neurogreens, which is something I put in my shake every morning. And I'm just thrilled for you to talk about this new product.
Right. Well, Neurogreens is actually a rainbow of colors of diversity of vegetables, fruits, algae, mushrooms, and prebiotic fibers. And I want to thank Jim Springer, our general manager, for bringing this up with us. And then, as you and I talked about it early, just to do greens was not going to be sufficient. We needed to do a total spectrum of all the beneficial substances that are available in foods. And so we literally have thousands of substances in these 24 concentrates. And they're beneficial not only for the brain, but also for the circulation, for energy, and for immunity. Very strong on immunity, because we developed this product as we were going into this terrible pandemic. And the overall profile of these 24 ingredients supplies a huge variety of literally thousands of beneficial substances.
Well, I just love this. And people often don't know. It's like, well, why would I need a green product if I eat reasonably well? And 93% of the population does not have 5 servings of fruits and vegetables a day, the minimum required to get the nutrition that you need. Plus, as you said, it's, even though it's called Neurogreens, because that's what people will relate to. It's not just greens. There's a whole rainbow of colors in here. You know, you talked about algae, and there's kale and broccoli, moringa, green tea leaf extract, but also carrot root and strawberry, pomegranate, which has so many benefits, raspberries, blueberries, beetroot, blackberries, blackcurrant. And then we're going to talk about mushrooms in a little bit, but this also has lion's mane and maitake and reishi mushrooms, along with shiitake, plus kelp and goji berry, which is so critical for your health. And there's this great study from Australia that said there is a linear correlation between the number of fruits and vegetables you eat a day and your level of happiness, up to 8. And it's just hard to think about consuming that many fruits and vegetables. So to just take a scoop of this and put it in your shake, which is what I do, I use BrainMD chocolate protein powder. We have chocolate and vanilla. I like the chocolate. It's just such a simple way to begin to get the nutrients you need.
Yeah, and you can also do more than one scoop, and it's great for kids, great for people of all ages. And as I was designing this, it came to my mind that what we're really looking at is the effects of these literally thousands of substances in multiplying the benefits of each other. So, for example, the substances that give the main colors to the blue and red and purple and even black foods that we have in here are called anthocyanins, and they're known to be fantastic for the circulation. The blue ones that come from blueberry are known to work really well in supporting brain function, cognitive function. And the anthocyanins have a great variety of benefits, and yet the average American only gets about 11 milligrams a day, which is a fraction of what would probably be beneficial for them. And 1/3 of all Americans estimated do not get any anthocyanins in their diet. So this is one example of a number of classes of substances that we have in the Neurogreens. And as I was designing it, of course, I always learn by doing these products. And I realized what a great variety of beneficial substances there are in our foodstuffs, and how we really need to have a diversity, a really maximal diversity of all these different substances. So the anthocyanins are antioxidants, but we also have other classes of antioxidants. You know, we have catechins, we have tannins, elagitannins, we have other flavonoids, all sorts of polyphenols, just a great variety. And then the mushrooms contribute these unique substances called glucans, which are just fantastic for immunity, but which I also learned help to feed the beneficial bacteria in the gut. So the glucans from mushrooms are great, not only for toning up, sharpening up our immunity, but also for helping to sustain and maintain and optimize our probiotic status.
You know, it's also a great thing because Neurogreens actually taste really good. I was shocked. I remember when Tana started putting greens in shakes that she would feed me, and I would watch her, you know, scoop a powder of someone else's greens, and I'm like, I'm not drinking that. I'm not a cow. And I always found them bitter.
Right.
And I'm, you know, she often calls me, you know, her next child because I just don't like suffering. It's not on the top of my list. And she would actually sneak greens into shakes she would make. She, in the Brain Warriors Way cookbook, she's got a dozen shake recipes that are just awesome. But, when I tasted this originally, I'm like, this doesn't taste bad. That it's actually very pleasant. And if I know one of the hardest things that parents have to deal with are getting fruits and vegetables into children's bodies. And this is just such a simple way that you can put it in a shake and really hide, if you will, the flavor. But this flavor is actually not bad.
Yeah, it got away from that grassy taste that a lot of green products have.
Yeah.
And we really were able to optimize these ingredients, and I'm very proud of the fibers too, because so these fibers, like inulin, for example, has had more than 10,000 studies, and inulin from Jerusalem artichoke is known to be very, very good for the bifidobacteria, which are the major probiotic players in our large intestine and colon. And then we have apple pectin, which also feeds the bifidobacteria, but which has another function too. It allows the bifidobacteria to make substances that the body can actually use for energy. So when you have really optimized fibers, as we do in this product, including also defatted flaxseed, the probiotics can be producing up to 7 to 8% of all the energy of the body. So we're actually feeding the probiotics with the glucans and with the other fibers and allowing them to make beneficial substances that not only benefit the intestinal lining, but benefit the energy level of the entire body. So this is also a fantastic product for energy and for digestive function and for overall wellness, not to mention the immune benefits of many of these. The acerola cherry, the West Indian cherry, which used to grow outside of my family home in Jamaica, contains 50 to 100 times the amount of vitamin C in an orange or lemon. Wow. And so we put that in there as well. So when you look at the synergies between all of these different substances, you're looking at a really highly concentrated brain and immune and whole body boosting supplement.
So Neurogreens, you can learn more about it. I put the link in the show notes or in the description. You're listening to the Brain Warriors Way podcast on new ways to boost your brain. I'm here with Dr. Parris Kidd. In the next episode, we are going to talk about smart mushrooms. I wanted to call it happy mushrooms, but my team wouldn't let me call it happy mushrooms because it has a very different use than to just make you happy. So stay with us. You're listening to the Brain Warriors Way podcast. Welcome back to the Brain Warriors Way podcast. I'm Dr. Daniel Amen. I am here with my good friend, Dr. Parris Kidd, Chief Science Officer for BrainMD. BrainMD's mission is to provide the products to optimize your brain and your life. So welcome back, Parris. So now we're going to talk about mushrooms. And how do mushrooms? I think of my children when they see mushrooms, they're like, ew, I don't want to eat that. And I love mushrooms. Um, how do they benefit the brain? And here's our brand new product. It's actually going to come out in the next couple of weeks. It's called Smart Mushrooms. I was going to call it Happy Mushrooms, but my team wouldn't let me because it sort of has the wrong connotation. Um, but you're very excited about the development of this product. Can you talk about Smart Mushrooms and why someone would think about putting this as a regular part of their dietary supplement plan?
Well, when Jim Springer, who's an expert on mushrooms, suggested this to me, uh, I had already done a number of mushroom products before, and I had written an extensive review on mushrooms for immunity. But I uh, emphasized that we really needed to get mushrooms that would help the brain, besides helping immunity and other organs of the body. And the one that really stands out, and which happens to be very expensive, by the way, is called lion's mane. And it's called lion's mane because the mushroom has little tendrils hanging off of it, as you would see the strands of a lion's mane. But lion's mane has had several clinical trials that show clearly that it improves cognitive function in older humans, including in people who are having substantial trouble with their memory. It also has been shown in early research to benefit mood. So we put a substantial amount, a whole 1,000 milligrams of lion's mane into this product. And that makes this a unique product because it's very hard to find combination mushroom products that have a substantial amount of lion's mane. And one way that lion's mane seems to work is that it stimulates the production of a substance called nerve growth factor, or NGF, which is the first human growth factor ever discovered, and which literally supports and stimulates growth and maturation of nerve cells in the brain. So, this substance cannot be taken by mouth because it doesn't get across the blood brain barrier. But lion's mane stimulates the production of NGF in the brain. And as it does that, it seems to uh, improve the functioning of the nerve cells overall and of the synaptic connections, the connections between the nerve cells, and to actually have the consequence of improving cognitive function. So then we went with another mushroom called reishi, which has been known for thousands of years and which has been called the mushroom of immortality because reishi has been thought traditionally to contribute to wisdom and sexual prowess and longevity and all of the wonderful things that people want to have as we go through our lives. And reishi, as it turns out, also can stimulate NGF production in the brain. And it further stimulates another brain growth factor called BDNF. So reishi also has that ability to support brain function. And then additional mushrooms include shiitake, which has a specific glucan that is well proven for immunity. But shiitake also has a unique antioxidant that may be very important for the brain. And this antioxidant is rarely known. Think of it as ET for ergothioneine. And ET actually has specific transporters in the human body. The body has transport proteins that look for and pick up ET and spread it through the tissues. So the feeling among antioxidant experts is that ET may have a specific, very powerful function as a human dietary derived antioxidant. So shiitake is contributing both antioxidant power as well as immune function. And then cordyceps. Cordyceps is a really interesting story. This fungus, this mushroom in the wild grows out of a caterpillar. So it takes over a caterpillar, which the larva of a moth usually, sometimes a butterfly. It grows within the body of the caterpillar, and then it pushes a fruiting body out of the head of the caterpillar. And so, of course, that's very hard to maintain as a commercial source. It's actually endangered in the wild. So methods were developed to grow it in under controlled situations, not involving caterpillars. And reishi, as it turns out, has not only glucans, which are fantastic for immunity, but also substances called nucleosides. Um, so cordyceps has nucleosides which go into making DNA and RNA, which is related to DNA and which is important for us to make proteins and to regulate all kinds of cellular functions. And these nucleosides are also involved in many aspects of cell regulation. So cordyceps is energizing. It actually helps to raise energy and vitality, and it's known to be useful for athletes. So, in one of the Olympics, a number of Eastern European athletes were performing suspiciously well, and they were found to have been taking cordyceps. So,
It's
then
not a banned substance, so it would be great for the average person and maybe even athletes
right,
to take this on a regular basis. And, you know, I often say your best defense against COVID is your immune system. It's your immune system.
yeah,
And finding ways to optimize it. Your best defense against COVID is also your brain, right? Making good decisions,
right,
thoughtful
right,
decisions.
right.
And so
Right.
smart mushrooms can help you not only be smarter, but strengthen your
Yeah.
immune system.
Yeah, and then we have turkey tail, which has been used for decades now as the premier source of immune boosting glucans in the Far East. Turkey tail, despite its humble name, is actually a very powerful mushroom, very expensive to get in the Far East, and fantastic for immunity. And I just want to make a very quick explanation of how glucans work. These are large molecules with complicated shapes. And when they get into the intestinal contents after mushrooms are taken by mouth, there are intestinal immune cells. There are immune cells in the intestinal lining that are sampling the intestinal contents. These are our guards, these are our early warning cells. And when they pick up glucans, they seem to sense the glucans as foreign, and then they raise their level of awareness and they spread the glucans around to other immune cells such as natural killer cells, T helper cells, B cells, so that the entire level of awareness in the body is being boosted. Our immune vigilance is being boosted by the presence of these glucans. And then, as they progress further into the large intestine, they go to feed the probiotics as well. They're also good antioxidants. So, with these six mushrooms, including the lion's mane, reishi, shiitake, cordyceps, turkey tail, and also a Brazilian mushroom called agaricus, which is now popular in the Far East as well, we are supplying a great variety of, of glucans, nucleosides, vitamins, minerals, fiber, all sorts of stuff that makes for not only brain benefits, but also a very high level of immune boost. And also, these mushrooms tend to support healthy cholesterol levels, blood sugar, liver function, and various energy and vitality, and just a whole range of other um, positive functions that we need during this time.
Is there any problem in your shake in the morning, putting a scoop of smart mushrooms along with Neurogreens? Is that a rational strategy?
Oh, absolutely. The more the better. And we're actually recommending that our team, as they develop the labeling, um, and with the help of this excellent supplier, actually says that to start off your day by putting one or more scoops into your shake. And we're also recommending a double dose, 2 servings for the first few weeks to get you boosted. You know, people live their lives, they get old, and then things happen. And no matter where we are in our lives, we're subjected to stress, we're subjected to challenges to our mental performance, challenges to our immune system. And, the more the Neurogreens, the better, the more the smart mushrooms, the better.
Well, you're listening to the Brain Warriors Way podcast. We're so grateful. I'm here with Dr. Parris Kidd. The Brain Warriors Way podcast is sponsored by Amen Clinics, but also BrainMD, because BrainMD really wants you to have this information. As brain warriors, we want you to be armed, prepared, and really aware to win the most important fight of your life, which is for the health of your brain. So stay with us. When we come back, we are going to talk about new ways to boost your brain. Stay with us. Welcome back, everyone. You're listening or watching the Brain Warriors Way podcast. This week, we're talking about new ways to boost your brain. I am here with our Chief Science Officer and my good friend, Dr. Parris Kidd, who has a PhD in cell biology from UC Berkeley, who's really one of the pioneers and one of the most respected scientists in the natural supplement industry. So welcome, Parris. I am always grateful for your care, your concern, and that big brain of yours, helping the world get healthy using nutritional supplements.
Quantity, if not quality, Daniel.
um, so we're in the middle of a pandemic, and who knows when it's going to end? When it started, many people thought it'd be over by the fall, but it actually may not be until next fall. And one of the first things I wrote down was your best defense against COVID-19 is your immune system. And you and I and Jim Springer, our general manager, put our heads together and we went, all right, what do we have that can boost the brain, but also your immunity to help people not only survive, but thrive during this stressful time? And Neura-C was actually one of, it's on the top of my mind about, people need more vitamin C, but in a form that could be delivered to their cells. And I know you and vitamin C actually have a long relationship. So can you talk about vitamin C and how critical it is for so many different systems in the body?
Yeah, vitamin C was actually the first dietary supplement product I worked with when I started back in 1985. And vitamin C is still the most underestimated single nutrient that we need. I just found out yesterday that as many as 46% of Americans may not be getting sufficient vitamin C. And this is really sad. This is really, really sad. Sugar interferes with the absorption of vitamin C. That makes it even more complicated. Uh, the brain needs vitamin C, not just as an antioxidant, which is often the way it's presented, a protective antioxidant. And the brain is very metabolically busy, therefore, it needs antioxidants, therefore, you should take vitamin C. Vitamin C is actually much more profound than that. Vitamin C is required by a number of enzymes in the brain and elsewhere to make specific neurotransmitters, especially dopamine, epinephrine, and probably also, Daniel, serotonin, which, as we know, is deeply involved in mood and sleep patterns, our 24-hour daily rhythm, all of that stuff. Vitamin C is also needed in the brain to make substances that help to generate energy, such as creatine and carnitine. It's needed to make peptide hormones, which are part of the neurotransmitter system in the brain. And it's needed to make the myelin insulation, the insulation of our nerve cells, which allows them to function at their electrically most efficient rates of transmission. And then it is also vital for the brain as an antioxidant, but it's also essential to make collagen. Now, collagen gets talked about a lot for the skin and, the nails and all of that. But collagen is actually a fundamental substance. If we didn't have collagen, we would only be blobs on the floor because we wouldn't have any structure to our body. Collagen gives structure to our connective tissues, which hold together our organs and hold everything in place. Collagen is the basis for the tissues into which bone is laid down. And vitamin C is essential for the main enzyme that makes collagen. And the brain needs collagen as well, because all of our blood vessels have collagen in their walls. So vitamin C is profoundly important for the brain, for the circulation, and for literally all of the organs. It's vital for the adrenal glands because these little glands on top of the kidneys make hormones that help us cope with stress. They also make hormones that help to control our sodium potassium balance and other mineral balance. So the adrenals are small, but incredibly vital, and they have to have a lot of vitamin C. And vitamin C then is also crucial for the immune system because
Hang on 1 second. Let's talk about the adrenal glands for a minute. I was just thinking while you were talking, so many people, their adrenal glands are getting worn out because of the pandemic, the societal unrest, the political season we're in. It just feels like an assault against our ability to manage the stressful messages that are coming our way and that so many people are experiencing. And so, if your adrenal glands, these little triangle shaped glands that sit on the top of your kidneys, are not healthy, if they're not getting the nutrients they need, that you're going to have a much harder time managing the stress that you're being assaulted with. And Neura-C is just, one of the products that can really be helpful to keep that part of your body healthy.
But it's central to adrenal gland function. And people can develop adrenal gland exhaustion, and they can actually die from adrenal exhaustion. JFK had adrenal exhaustion, Addison's disease from birth, and he was expected to die as a teenager. Unfortunately, he made it through. The adrenals are really crucial, and without sufficient vitamin C, you're going to be constantly on the defensive against stress. And while we talk about all sorts of fancy herbals and stuff against stress, vitamin C, basic vitamin C is really should be the fundamental nutrient for any program against stress. And then for immunity, much of our immune system is single cells that are patrolling. They're patrolling within the tissues, they're patrolling, circulating with the blood, and they need vitamin C to maintain their mobility. If there's not sufficient vitamin C available, they literally come to a halt. They're not able to move. And then also the many of our immune cells produce highly toxic free radical substances in order to kill invading agents. And as they do that, they threaten their own survival. So it's like, you're putting out all these destructive substances, but you're being exposed to those substances too. So immune cells tend to be very, very high in vitamin C as antioxidants to protect against these free radicals that they produce. And then I also learned recently that vitamin C is important for certain enzymes that regulate gene expression. And this applies both to the immune system and to all of our 30 trillion or so cells in our bodies, that our genes are very closely regulated, and vitamin C apparently is important for some of those enzymes as well. So this is a really, really profound enzyme. And the NeuroC is in a liposomal form. And liposomes are little tiny microscopic bags that have a hollow interior and enclose the vitamin C and carry it into the intestine, where they may help to inject it directly into the intestinal cells. And so with liposomes, and this is a real liposomal formulation, it's validated by electron microscope study. There are many imitation liposome products, but this is a real liposome product. And this has a higher rate of absorption than routine vitamin C. And it also tastes great. And so this is a really convenient form of vitamin C.
Yeah, it tastes like dessert. It's really good. I like, some days I'll actually have 2 tablespoons just because I love the taste. You want to refrigerate it once you get it.
Right.
It makes it taste even better.
Right. Refrigeration is actually quite important. Yeah.
So far this week, we've talked about Neurogreens, smart mushrooms, NeuroC, and now we're actually going to get to one of my favorite products, omega-3 Power Squeeze. So stay with us. We are going to continue the Brain Warriors Way podcast on 4 new ways to boost your brain. I am here with Dr. Parris Kidd, the Chief Science Officer from BrainMD. Brain Warriors Way podcast is actually brought to you by BrainMD because what we want to do is give you the products to really optimize the physical functioning of your brain. Stay with us. You're in a war for the health of your brain. Hi, I'm Dr. Daniel Amen, founder of Amen Clinics and Amen University. My wife Tana and I created the Brain Warriors Way course. It's 26 hours of content where we walk you through how to have a better brain and a better life. If you want to survive and thrive, you have to become a brain warrior. So welcome back. You're listening to the Brain Warriors Way podcast. This week, we're talking about 4 new ways to optimize your brain. I'm here with Dr. Parris Kidd, our Chief Science Officer at BrainMD, PhD in cell biology from UC Berkeley. Parris is really considered, just a world-class scientist, and I'm grateful that he works with us and he helps us formulate new products to optimize your brain and your life. And in this episode, we are going to talk about a brand new product we have called Omega-3 Power Squeeze, which is just so critically important. And at Amen Clinics, we actually did 2 studies. The first study we did is we took 50 consecutive patients who were not taking omega-3 fatty acids. 49 of them had suboptimal levels on the omega-3 index, which has been found to be predictive of heart disease. And we have certainly seen it correlate with brain health issues. So basically 98% of the population, at least the psychiatric population, is deficient in omega-3 fatty acids. And then Parris and I and Bill Harris and some of our other scientists did a study where we looked at the omega-3 index and compared SPECT scans, how the brain works in people who had healthy levels and deficient levels of omega-3 fatty acids, again, using the omega-3 index, and significantly lower activity in blood flow in the parahippocampal region, a region known to be involved in mood and memory. A long time ago, when I realized I was not fixing everybody with psychiatric medication, and I'm not opposed to psychiatric medication, it's just never the first thing I think about. I'm like, how do I support nutritionally my patients' brains? It's the most metabolic organ in the body, and multiple vitamin, because most people don't have 5 servings of fruits and vegetables a day, minds the gap, omega-3 fatty acids, and then optimize your vitamin D level. And so we've had omega-3 power for a very long time at Amen Clinics. But what about kids? And what about people who don't like taking capsules?
Right.
And that's where we were able to develop this formulation. No lie, tastes like dessert. It is so wonderful. And in a tablespoon, there's 910 milligrams of EPA and 590 milligrams of DHA. It is one of the most highly concentrated omega-3 products that taste great. But Parris, why don't you tell us about it and why you're excited about omega-3 Power Squeeze?
Yeah, well, I'm very grateful again to Jim Springer, because we had been wanting a product like this for a long time, and Jim helped us to make the connection to get this beautiful emulsified EPA and DHA, which has no fishy taste or smell, no funny reflux sensation when you swallow it, and which happens to have pretty much exactly the same EPA and DHA profile as the soft gels. So we're talking 1,500, a whole 1,500 milligrams of EPA and DHA per tablespoon, and a ratio of 1.5 to 1 of EPA to DHA, which has emerged as being the most consistently effective for mood and for cognition and for even for cardiovascular function. And just last week, this huge meta-analysis came out, which is a pooling of data from numerous clinical trials. In this case, this meta-analysis covered 40 cardiovascular trials with EPA and DHA with more than 135,000 subjects. And it found that indeed, EPA plus DHA had a variety of circulatory and heart benefits, and that the most desirable range of dosing was between 1,000 and 2,000 milligrams per day. So with 1,500 milligrams, we're right in the middle. FDA is not happy on with people taking more than 3,000 milligrams a day. But someone who's really having trouble could take 2 tablespoons a day of this, and we would still be within the range. So it's very clear now that the omega-3s are real. Even the most conservative skeptics now agree that after thousands, literally thousands of studies and hundreds of clinical trials, EPA and DHA are essential for human health. They're practically vitamins because the body cannot make them efficiently from other dietary omega-3s. If you want to get enough EPA and DHA, you have to get it either from cold water fish or from dietary supplements. And we know that in the brain, they're essential for this fundamental cellular system called membranes, which are not only running around the edge of all of our cells, including the nerve cells, but also make the connections, the synapses between the nerve cells, and do a whole range of other important functions in the nerve cells. And the nerve cells need EPA and DHA. And this begins at the time of conception, when sperm meets egg. And then by the time the brain begins to develop in the fetus, the mother really should be providing the baby with a whole lot more EPA and DHA than the average American woman is getting. And then this need persists through the 3rd trimester when the brain is growing really fast, and into birth and after birth, during breastfeeding, and all the way through life. And it's clear that in the American population, the average intake is running upwards of 100 milligrams a day, when the minimum requirement is now emerging as at least 500 milligrams, probably 1,000 milligrams a day. The American Heart Association recommends 1,000 milligrams a day. Now, if a person goes into a drugstore and asks for fish oil, they're very often going to get a product that says fish oil 1,000 milligrams. But when you look at the amount of EPA and DHA in that product, you see that it's only 300 milligrams. So if you want to get sufficient amounts from a basic fish oil product, you'd have to take at least 4 of those large soft gels. Whereas with this omega-3 power squeeze liquid, you take 1 tablespoon and you're pretty confident that your omega-3 index is going to be increasing. If you're already having cognitive issues, or if you have issues with your heart and circulation, you're probably better off to take 2 tablespoons a day of the omega-3 power squeeze.
So omega-3 is good to support your heart, your skin, your eyes,
everything,
your hair. I started late.
Everything, because all of our cells have membrane systems. All cells that are known on the planet have membranes, and all membranes need EPA and DHA. That's how fundamental these 2 nutrients are. And so they're fantastic for joint health, liver function, kidney function. Any organ you can think of needs omega-3s, and yet the population of this country has one of the lowest intakes of any country on the planet.
And what about vegetarians? I get this issue a lot with patients, and algae-based EPA and DHA, which is really their option, is expensive, and they generally don't have concentrated amounts of EPA and DHA. What can they do? In fact, I think you and I should develop a non-fish source omega-3 product, because even though they're not fish proteins, in omega-3 power and omega-3 power squeeze, knowing that it comes from fish eliminates that possibility for many vegetarians.
I may not be able to convince vegans, but I can tell the vegetarians that there's no fish antigens remaining. There's no fish protein, no fish carbohydrates remaining in this concentrate. This material is so highly purified that it's identical chemically to the EPA and DHA that's made by algae.
So what can we do if, we really want to reach our vegan population? Is there anything we can do to really be helpful? Because I want
Yeah,
them.
we can make a vegan product, and we should, Daniel, because there are plant oils that are being misrepresented as supplying functional omega-3s. And this has been a source of frustration to me for decades, because the plant oils do not have EPA or DHA. And the body is very inefficient. Some people can't make the conversion at all. So things like chia and flax are not going to supply sufficient amounts of EPA and DHA. Therefore, let's look forward to making an algal product and offering it to our vegan and vegetarian customers and patients.
Yeah, no, I think that'll be
Yeah, yeah,
helpful for them.
yes.
Well, you've just done a great job as always. I am very grateful for you. And
You bring out the best in me, Daniel.
well, I think we're a good team. And I just adore you. And I hope you're staying safe and healthy during this challenging time. And for all of those that are listening, Parris and I actually have a number of videos. You go to brainmd.com. We want you to be a brain warrior, armed, prepared, and aware to win this fight of your life. And then we want you to go recruit other brain warriors, because ultimately what what I've concluded is the end of mental illness is never going to start until we create a revolution in brain health. And many traditional doctors will tell you there's no science behind natural supplements. That's completely ridiculous. In my new book, The End of Mental Illness, Parris really helped me with the chapter on mind medicine versus nutraceuticals. We have 286 scientific references on what has A-level scientific evidence to help strengthen and support your brain. So thank you, Parris. So grateful for you, my friend.
Yes, Daniel, and I'm honored to be able to help you to be at the beginning of the end of mental illness. Your quarter of a century of work has really moved the entire field of psychiatry in the direction of comprehensive and non-toxic management of mental illness. And I congratulate you on that.
Thank you so much. You're listening to the Brain Warriors Way podcast. And we'd just be so grateful if you went to brainwarriorswaypodcast.com, left us a comment, question, or review. If you do, we'll enter you into a drawing to win either a copy of The End of Mental Illness or Tana's Brain Warriors Way cookbook. We are so grateful for you. If you learned anything this week, please write it down, take a picture of it, post it on any of your social media sites, hashtag Brain Warriors Way podcast.com. See you soon.
If you're enjoying the Brain Warriors Way podcast, please don't forget to subscribe so you'll always know when there's a new episode. And while you're at it, feel free to give us a review or 5-star rating, as that helps others find the podcast.
If you're considering coming to Amen Clinics or trying some of the brain healthy supplements from BrainMD, you can use the code podcast10 to get a 10% discount on a full evaluation at amenclinics.com or a 10% discount on all supplements at brainmdhealth.com. For more information, give us a call at 855-978-1363.